The red grease pencil snaps under Grant Mercer's thumb. One half rolls across the conference table and stops against Lena Ortiz's coffee mug. The other stays in Grant's hand as he draws a thick line through 14 names on her staffing grid. Dock Marshall, freight elevator operator, 2 fire watch positions, waist captain, service floaters, coat check, backstage runners, half the crew erased in red wax. I built that plan for 400 guests, Lena says. Grant turns the laminated sheet toward Meridian Health's gala committee. And this is why labor got away from us. The foundry requires every role. It requires coverage. He smiles at the client. Experienced operators know the difference. Lena looks at the plan, then at Evan Rusk, who has stopped uncapping his pen. Grant knows she is right. That is the unanswered thing sitting between them. He attended the venue walkthrough. He initialed the addendum. Grant slides the damaged grid back to her. Wasteful is wasteful, even when it's color-coded. Across the table, Meridian's banquet chair, Cynthia Bell, folds her hands over a leather portfolio. Her expression has the polite stillness clients use when they sense blood but haven't decided whose. Lena picks up the broken pencil. The loading dock and freight elevator can't be covered by the same person. They're on different levels. We'll stagger deliveries. The rental truck, floral truck, catering load, and production van already have staggered windows. Then we'll stagger them better. The fire watch positions are fixed posts during public hours. Grant taps one finger beside the crossed-out names. 2 room captains can cover those doors. Then you don't have room captains. Evan shifts in his chair. Grant glances at him. Evan, you've run lean crews. At hotels, Evan says, different setup, but you can handle this one. It is phrased like a compliment and lands like an order. Evan looks at Lena before answering. If that's the final crew. Good. Grant closes the labor cost worksheet on his tablet. You'll be floor lead. Lena can focus on decor logistics and donor gifts. That should let everyone play to their strengths. For a moment, Lena hears the heating vent above Cynthia's head and the tiny grind of the broken pencil inside her fist. She has led every foundry event Harbor Pine has produced in the last 6 years. Cynthia looks from Grant to Lena. Is this a normal handoff? Completely, Grant says. Lena places the 2 pencil pieces beside her mug. It happened 30 seconds ago. Cynthia's mouth tightens. Grant gives a soft laugh, the kind meant to make directness look socially clumsy. We're an agile team. Lena built the foundation. Evan will execute the streamlined version. The venue won't approve this version. Leave the venue conversation to me. You want me to stop coordinating with Marisol? I want one voice going forward. His smile remains, but something behind it has changed. That's how we avoid confusion. Lena understands the decision he is offering her. She can keep arguing and become the difficult employee he has already started describing. Or she can sit quietly while her name remains attached to a plan he has gutted. She turns the grid over and takes a black pen from her notebook. What are you doing? Grant asks, dating the revision. She writes in the lower corner, crew reduced from 28 to 14 by G. Mercer, 10:17 a.m. Grant's jaw moves once. Cynthia watches her cap the pen. Anything else? Lena asks. Grant reaches for the next agenda sheet. Centerpieces. The meeting runs another 43 minutes. Lena discusses smoke-colored votives, 12-inch sightline limits, and whether the sponsor tables should have silver or charcoal linens. She answers every question precisely. When Grant jokes that she has finally reached the fun part, she asks Cynthia whether Meridian wants the donor gifts preset or distributed at departure. Departure, Cynthia says. We don't need $800 worth of leather notebooks walking out before dinner. 400 people would have to take 2 each, Evan says. Cynthia looks at him. He clears his throat. So we'd probably notice. The floral designer laughs, and the room loosens for 6 seconds. Lena writes departure distribution beside a sketch of the west vestibule. Grant has just eliminated both people assigned to that station. When the committee leaves, Cynthia waits until Grant is in the hallway with Meridian's vice president. She touches the edge of Lena's laminated grid. Should I be worried? Lena can smell Cynthia's citrus hand cream. Grant's voice carries through the glass wall, warm and confident, explaining how Harbor Pine will deliver discipline without diminishing experience. You should expect us to solve our internal staffing decisions, Lena says. That wasn't my question. I know. Cynthia studies her face. Grant told us your original estimate included contingency labor. It included required posts and 4 floaters, 2 for service recovery, 1 backstage, 1 for breaks. And now? Now there are no breaks unless coverage leaves another post. Cynthia slides her portfolio under her arm. Grant says the venue language is flexible. The venue language says dedicated. Grant re-enters before Cynthia can answer. There you are. David wants to revisit sponsor placement. Cynthia's professional smile returns. Lena was clarifying the staffing. I'm sure she was. After the elevator doors close behind the client, Grant stays facing them. Evan begins gathering water glasses as though the room has become his apartment after an uncomfortable dinner party. I'll take those to the kitchen. Stay, Grant says. Evan sets the glasses down. Grant turns to Lena. Up close, he looks tired. There is gray at his temples that hadn't been there when he joined Harbor Pine 8 months ago, and a crescent of dried toothpaste near the corner of his mouth. He can spot $1,100 in duplicate linen fees without opening a calculator. He once renegotiated a hotel kitchen contract during a gas leak and got dinner served from 2 restaurants across the street. His competence is what makes this worse. You never contradict me in front of a client like that again, he says. You cut 14 positions in front of her. I corrected an estimate. You reassigned the floor lead during a committee meeting because the floor lead refused to adjust. The floor lead warned you that the adjustment violates the venue agreement. Grant holds out his hand. Give me the addendum. It's in the shared folder, the marked copy. Lena opens her binder and removes 6 stapled pages. Yellow tabs run down the right side. The foundry's staffing requirements begin on page 4, beneath a section about open flame and temporary rigging. Grant flips to it without using the tabs. He knows exactly where it is. His eyes move down the page. Subject to venue discretion. For added posts. Subject to venue discretion, he repeats. Read the full sentence. I have. Then read it aloud. Evan closes his eyes briefly. Grant lowers the pages. Do you think this is a courtroom? No, in a courtroom, people take the wording seriously. That right there. He points at her, almost regretful. That tone is why you're not ready for a director title. Lena feels the sentence enter cleanly, like a needle. The promotion had never been promised in writing. At the holiday dinner, the company's founder, Rose Hanley, had said she wanted Lena running operations by spring. 2 months later, Rose sold a controlling share to Grant's investment group and moved to Charleston. Grant replaced the promised title with a 6-month leadership review and tied Lena's annual bonus to the Meridian margin. He had known which door he was closing when he said it. Evan looks at the table. The doc coverage does seem pretty explicit. Grant's attention shifts to him. Are you declining the lead? No. Then lead. I can lead and still need the right headcount. You have 14 people for 400 guests. That's 1 for every 28 guests. It doesn't work like that, Lena says. Grant turns back to her. You're on decor. I heard you. Then why are you still talking about operations? Because when the freight elevator jams with floral carts, someone will remember that she built the schedule. Because every vendor has her number. Because Marisol Vega will look for her at the service entrance. Because if the evening fails, Grant will call the original plan too complicated and the reduced plan poorly executed. And somehow both explanations will have Lena's fingerprints on them. She folds her marked copy of the addendum and returns it to the binder. I'll send a transition email, she says. Grant nods, satisfied too quickly. Keep it constructive. Lena gathers her mug, notebook, and the 2 pieces of red pencil. At her desk, she lays the broken pencil beside her keyboard. The office occupies the 2nd floor over a flooring showroom, and every afternoon the air smells faintly of carpet glue. Lena's desk is nearest the supply closet. She can tell who is panicking by how hard they yank that door. Today, Evan opens it gently and stands staring at shelves of badge stock, tape guns, batteries, and extension cords. "What are you looking for?" she asks. "A personality that enjoys being promoted into traffic." "Third shelf behind the gaffer tape." He gives her a tired smile. "You really think Marisol will reject the roster?" "I think she'll ask who is standing at each required post. I can put names at each post. Where will those people physically be?" That's the part currently hiding behind the gaffer tape. Lena opens the staffing file on her monitor. Grant's red line still covers the 14 cut positions. The grease mark has transferred onto the clear edge of her left hand. Evan pulls the spare chair beside her desk. What if the dock marshal switches to elevator after final load-in? Waste pickups start at 5:30. Catering has replenishment runs through 9. Entertainment loadout begins at 10:15 while guests are still in the building. So draw it. He takes a pad from her desk. Lena makes him sketch the foundry from memory. Service lane on the south side, freight elevator past the production cage, ballroom on 3, catering kitchen across the narrow service corridor. He draws the elevator in the wrong place. "Closer to the stairwell," she says. "You could be gracious about this." "I could draw it for you and then you'd have a picture you didn't understand." "Rose drew it for me once." Rose drew the elevator in the wrong place, too. He laughs despite himself and moves the square. The foundry had been a power station before somebody with money decided exposed brick could support a $12 rental chair. Its public spaces were beautiful. Its service spaces had been designed for coal and machinery, not plated dinners. Every elegant event there rested on a series of ugly, narrow passages. Evan labels the loading dock and kitchen. "Now move 400 people through dinner," Lena says, "with 14 staff. With 14 staff, 8 of whom are banquet service." His pencil stops. Grant counted the catering captain. Grant counted everyone wearing black. Could the venue supply fire watch? At venue rates, if requested 10 business days ahead. We're at 8. 7 after today. Evan leans back. "Why didn't you say that in there?" "I said they were fixed posts." "No, the deadline." "He has the rate sheet." "That isn't the same as saying it." Lena looks at him. "What exactly do you think would have happened if I'd given him one more fact?" Evan rubs his thumb over the pad's spiral edge. He might have understood the exposure. He understood it before he broke my pencil. Across the office, Grant steps out of his glass-walled office and looks toward them. Evan straightens. "Transition," Lena says quietly. Evan nods too firmly. "Transition." Grant walks to the coffee station. "How's the handoff?" "Productive," Evan says. "Good. Lena, I need the decor workbook by end of day. Remove the staffing tabs before you send it to Cynthia. The staffing tabs are linked to the run of show. Unlink them. That will break the arrival calculations. Then rebuild the formulas." He fills his mug halfway, adds hot water, and drinks it weak and black. Grant treats coffee the way he treats labor, something to dilute until it barely performs its original function. Lena turns back to her screen. "I'll send a clean decor workbook." "Excellent." "And a separate operations transition." His mug pauses near his mouth. "To Evan. To Evan, you, the staffing vendor, and Cynthia." "No, the client requested clarification. The client hired Harbor Pine, not Lena Ortiz. She needs an accurate record of the plan we're executing." Grant sets down his mug. "You're confusing documentation with self-protection." "I'm doing both. The supply closet door is still open. Somewhere inside, a roll of ribbon slips from a shelf and lands with a soft, papery thud. Grant looks at Evan. "Give us a minute." Evan stands. "I need the diagram." "Take it." He tears off the page and leaves the pad behind. Grant waits until he's across the office. Here's what I think is happening. Rose made you indispensable by letting you build systems around your own anxiety. Now every change feels like an attack on your value. Lena's hands go still over the keyboard. You're good, he continues, very good. But good operators create options. They don't make themselves the only safe option. The accusation is clever because part of it is true. Rose had trusted Lena's caution because Lena once failed spectacularly without it. Years ago, at a museum dinner, she had accepted a revised rental count verbally. 70 guests arrived to bare tables while the missing place setting sat in a warehouse 12 miles away. Lena had spent the evening washing dessert forks in a prep sink between courses. Afterward, she started marking every change in red pencil and making the person requesting it initial the line. Grant knows that story. Lena told it during his first week because she thought leaders should know where systems came from. Send your transition to Evan and me, he says. Keep the client out of internal disagreement. And the vendor? Evan will direct the vendor. The labor order closes tomorrow at noon. Then he has plenty of time. Lena touches the grease smear on her palm. I won't sign the revised operations ready sheet. Grant studies her for a long second. I didn't ask you to. You were going to. A hint of admiration passes through his expression, then disappears. Send the decor workbook by 5. He walks away. At 4:48, Lena sends the workbook. At 4:53, she sends the transition email. It lists each cut roll, the venue clause attached to it, and the operational conflict created by combining it with another assignment. She keeps the language flat. No adjectives. No accusation. At the bottom, she writes, I am transferring floor leadership as directed. I cannot certify the revised staffing plan as venue compliant or operationally ready. She sends it to Grant and Evan. Then she prints one copy, folds it behind the signed Foundry addendum, and clips the pages together with the broken red grease pencil. At 5:06, Grant's reply appears. Received. Lena will support the approved plan in her assigned scope. A second message arrives from Evan a minute later, only to her. You were right about the elevator. I'm going tomorrow morning to walk it again. Lena reads the sentence twice. Then she opens the donor gift inventory and assigns 200 leather notebooks to each of 2 rolling cages. The cages require the freight elevator. The attendants who are supposed to move them have been cut. She adds a red note to the schedule and leaves the office with wax still ground into the lines of her hand. The wax comes off only after Lena scrubs her hand with dish soap and the rough side of a sponge. By morning, a red shadow remains in the creases of her palm. She is relabeling donor gift cages when Evan messages her a photograph from the Foundry. He has framed the freight elevator doors with his clipboard held sideways for scale. They look smaller than he expected. A second photograph shows the service lane. A box truck occupies nearly all of it. A third shows Marisol Vega standing beside the production cage with one eyebrow raised. Lena types, "You found the elevator." Evan responds, "It was hiding near the stairwell." Then, "Marisol wants to know why you aren't here." Lena looks through the glass wall of Grant's office. He is speaking to the finance manager with one hand on his hip, smiling at a spreadsheet. Tell her the floor lead is handling venue coordination. The typing dots appear, vanish, and return. She said that wasn't what she asked. Lena turns her phone face down. By 10, the office sample table is covered in charcoal linen, silver linen, 3 sizes of votive, and a centerpiece mock-up that smells like wet eucalyptus. Cynthia Bell arrives carrying 2 coffees and the expression of a person who has already attended a meeting she disliked. "One of these is for you," she tells Lena. "Grant said you drink it black." "I do." "Good, because I guessed." Lena accepts the cup. Grant has never brought her coffee or asked how she takes it. Cynthia sets her portfolio beside the centerpiece. Walk me through departure. The program ends at 10. Guests move through the west vestibule where the donor notebooks are distributed from 2 rolling cages. Coat check is on the opposite wall. And the same people are doing both? The current staffing plan assigns coat check to departure gifts after the initial rush. That isn't what this says. Cynthia opens a printed copy of the revised event brief. Under guest experience, Grant has written 4 attendants supporting coat check, exits, and premium gift distribution. Only 2 attendants remain on the labor order. Lena reads the sentence twice. Where did you get this version? Grant sent it at 6:30 this morning. He added 2 people. Did he? Lena checks the labor portal. The order still shows 14. Cynthia watches her. You make a particular face when you're trying not to answer. What face? Like you're reading an allergy label at a restaurant. I'm checking the order. Grant comes out of his office, fastening one cuff. Cynthia, sorry to keep you. You didn't. She turns the event brief toward him. I'm trying to understand how 4 attendants become 2. They become 4 through shared coverage. Which people are shared? The room captains transition after dinner. Lena says the room captains are listed as fire watch after doors open. Grant picks up a silver votive and examines the seam. That's why we're finalizing flow. Cynthia opens her portfolio to a page filled with neat blue handwriting. If they're watching exits, checking coats, and handing out gifts, which task wins? Guest need determines deployment. Fire determines fire watch, Lena says. Grant replaces the votive slightly off-center. The venue uses that phrase more broadly than Lena does. Cynthia looks at him. Then I'd like the venue to say so. Of course. Evan is with Mercer now. Lena's phone buzzes against the table. Evan. She says fire watch means fire watch. Lena slides the phone toward Grant. He reads the message without touching it. Marisol is literal before lunch. Is she metaphorical after? Cynthia asks. For one startled second, Grant almost laughs. Then he gathers himself. I'll handle Marisol, he says. Please do, Cynthia replies. Meridian's chief operating officer is bringing 12 guests. If she has to choose between collecting her coat and surviving a small fire, I'd rather not make that part of the experience. Grant picks up the silver votive again. Charcoal linens, silver candles. Charcoal and clear, Cynthia says. The silver looks like a dentist's office. Lena moves the rejected votive to the far side of the table. At 11:15, the rental supplier sends the first refusal. Marty Kessler from Formfold has worked events long enough to communicate irritation through punctuation. His email contains 3 paragraphs, 2 commas, and 6 periods. Cannot accept revised 3:30 delivery. Contracted window is 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Truck cannot stage on Mercer Street. Freight access accommodates 1 vendor at a time. See attached correspondence from Lena Ortiz, dated May 3rd. The attached email lays out the load-in sequence in 15-minute blocks. Floral clears the service lane at 1:25. Rentals unload from 1:30 to 2:15. Production follows. Catering begins hotbox delivery at 2:45. Grant's new schedule has placed all 4 vendors between 3 and 4, apparently so he can eliminate the dock marshal's early call time. His office door opens. Lena. She looks up. Why is Formfold refusing the delivery window? Because their truck can't fit inside another truck. I mean, why are they acting like the old schedule is contractual? Because it is attached to their contract. Who attached it? I did, when we confirmed delivery. Grant closes his eyes for a fraction of a second. Can you move them? I can ask Marty what he has available. Ask him to move to 3:30. He just answered that. Call him. Lena does, with Grant standing beside her desk. Marty answers on the second ring. If this is about 3:30, I've become less available since my email. It's about what you do have available, 1 to 2. Anything after 4, I can return at 7 after the truck finishes in Arlington. That's during guest arrival, Lena says. I know. Grant leans closer to the phone. Marty, this is Grant Mercer. We're trying to create efficiencies at the dock. By putting 4 trucks in it? We're managing a broader sequence. My driver manages the truck. He says 1 to 2. You've worked with Harbor Pine for years. That's why I held 1 to 2. Grant's face hardens. What would it cost to add a second driver and shift the route? Marty names a figure nearly equal to the dock marshal's entire shift. Grant stares at the rejected silver votive on Lena's table. "We'll keep the original window," he says. "Great," Marty replies. "Lena, send me the dock contact." The line goes quiet. Grant says, "Evan will send it. You need someone scheduled at 1. I'm aware. The reduced crew starts at 2. I said I'm aware." Marty waits with the patience of a man being paid by neither minute. "I'll send the contact by noon," Grant says, and ends the call. He walks toward his office, then turns back. "This is what I mean about systems built around your assumptions. The truck is 32 feet long. That's Marty's assumption. You made a staffing choice part of a vendor contract. I made the confirmed access window part of a vendor contract. You boxed us in. I prevented a box truck from sitting in traffic with $12,000 of glassware." Grant lowers his voice. "Take the win, Lena. Don't decorate it." He returns to his office. At noon, a new name appears on the labor order. Luis Bannerman, dock marshal, 1 o'clock call. 15 minutes later, Grant removes one service floater to keep the head count at 14. Lena prints the revision and sets it beneath the broken pencil. Evan returns from the foundry with dust on one knee and Marisol's blue venue folder tucked under his arm. He lays his hand-drawn diagram beside Lena's keyboard. It now has arrows, door numbers, and 3 places marked "No holding." "You could have mentioned the service corridor is 6 feet wide," he says. "It's on the floor plan." "The floor plan makes it look like a hallway. It's a throat. That's why waste pickups have a captain. Heather from catering says she can have a busser pull waste. The bussers are moving dishes." "She said that too after I suggested it." Lena looks at him. "How was Marisol?" "Polite in a way that made me want to confess to things." "That sounds like her." "She wants the final named roster by Thursday at noon, not titles, names." "She always does." Evan lowers his voice. "Grant said we usually send it the morning of. Grant has never produced at the foundry. He told Marisol you'd done it that way before." Lena leans back. "And?" She opened the blue folder. Marisol's folders are famous among local producers. She keeps printed show files for 7 years, each change clipped to the version that preceded it. Lena once teased her about running an archive in a building that rented rooms by the hour. Marisol replied that memory became expensive as soon as someone disputed it. "What did she show him?" Lena asks. "The roster from the Ellis Foundation dinner. Submitted 9 days out, your email on top." "Did he correct himself?" "He said processes evolve." "That means no. He also said your original grid was based on a legacy template." Lena looks through the glass wall. Grant is at his whiteboard with the finance manager, circling the meridian margin in green. Evan pulls the spare chair closer. "He wants me to revise the radio plan." "How many radios?" 10. "For 14 staff?" He cut 4 because some people are fixed. Fixed people still report problems. "I am learning so much." She almost smiles. "Who gets a radio?" "You, me, catering captain, banquet captain, dock, elevator, registration lead, production, security, and Grant. I'm on centerpieces. You'll still be there. That isn't an assignment. It's an observation." Evan opens the blue folder. Marisol has inserted a fresh roster form. Each required post has a blank box for the worker's legal name, employer, call time, radio channel, relief coverage, and supervisor. He taps the relief column. I asked Grant how to fill this in. What did he say? "Use judgment. That's efficient." I thought about listing him as everyone's relief. Marisol would make him stand a post. Exactly. It was the happiest 20 seconds of my morning. Lena studies the form. Don't falsify it. I wasn't going to. Don't put someone's name in 2 places and assume Marisol won't notice. I wasn't going to do that either. Then you don't have enough people. Evan's humor leaves his face. I know. The words change something between them. Until then, he has treated the problem like a puzzle Lena was refusing to help solve. Now he looks as if he can see the edge of it. Will you come to the staffing tabletop tomorrow? He asks. Grant assigned me to decor. Cynthia requested you. When? After you left the sample meeting. She wants each guest-facing transition walked through. Grant agreed? He said you'd be delighted. Lena lifts the broken pencil and turns it between her fingers. The snapped end is blunt and pale beneath its red paper wrapping. I'm thrilled, she says. The tabletop takes place at the Foundry in the third-floor ballroom. Without lighting and flowers, the room is all brick, steel beams and folded banquet chairs. Late afternoon sun cuts through the tall windows and exposes every speck of dust. Marisol stands at the service entrance with a clipboard. She wears a navy suit, flat shoes, and a measuring tape looped around her neck. She hugs Lena with one arm. I hear you've discovered centerpieces, she says. They were here the whole time. Brave new world. Grant arrives behind Cynthia and hears the last line. We're cross-utilizing senior talent. Marisol looks at him. Is that what we're calling it? We're giving Evan room to lead. Evan begins uncapping his marker with unnecessary concentration. They walk the event from guest arrival through departure. Registration works until Cynthia asks who escorts late arrivals to the mezzanine once the registration team moves to dinner support. Cocktail service works until Marisol points out that the proposed bar queue crosses an emergency path. Dinner works on paper if every speaker reaches backstage alone, on time, through a corridor shared with catering. At departure, Cynthia stands in the west vestibule and points to the coat racks. 400 coats if it rains. Forecast is clear, Grant says. The event is next week. Current forecast. And 2 cages of gifts, Cynthia continues, plus exit monitoring. We'll position the cages here. Grant indicates a space beside the vestibule doors. Marisol measures it without being asked. That reduces the exit width below the approved egress plan. We can put them across from coat check, Evan says. That blocks the accessible route. Lena points to a recessed wall near the ballroom doors. 1 cage here. 1 stays behind the service curtain. Refill the first as it empties. With whom? Cynthia asks. Everyone looks at the roster. Grant says, the coat check attendants can rotate. Both of them? Cynthia asks. 1 at a time. Then one person is finding coats for 400 guests. Not all 400 will leave simultaneously. Cynthia's gaze settles on him. You've never attended a fundraising gala, have you? I've produced hundreds of events. That wasn't my question. Marisol presses her lips together and examines the roster. Grant turns to Lena. This layout came from your legacy plan. How did you intend to manage it? 2 coat check attendants, 2 gift attendants, and a service floater, which is exactly the kind of duplication we're eliminating. They're 4 different hands doing 4 different things. 1 floater can support both. You removed the floater this morning to add the dock marshal. Cynthia's head turns. Grant's face remains pleasant. Temporarily, Marisol lifts the roster. Then submit the permanent version by Thursday at noon. We may need until Friday. No, we're still refining. My occupancy release depends on this form. Every box gets 1 name. Every required role gets coverage. Grant gestures toward the ballroom, the empty chairs, the exposed brick. Marisol, you have 400 guests arriving. Meridian has executives flying in. Your catering partner has inventory committed. Are you seriously telling me you'll hold an event over a few staffing boxes? Marisol lowers the clipboard. I'm telling you, she says, that I will hold your load in before I let 400 guests enter a building you have chosen not to staff safely. The room seems to sharpen around her. Grant looks at Lena, as if the sentence has come from her mouth. Lena says nothing. Marisol hands the roster to Evan. Thursday, noon. On the way back to the office, Grant asks Lena to ride with him. His car smells of cedar air freshener and old coffee. He drives 3 blocks before speaking. You enjoyed that? No. You let her perform. She answered your question. You have a long relationship with Marisol. So does the venue agreement. He tightens both hands on the steering wheel. Did you contact her after I told you not to? No. Did you encourage Cynthia to challenge the plan? No. Did you send anyone the transition email? Only you and Evan. He glances at her. You expect me to believe this is all happening organically. I expect you to believe the dock is still narrow when I'm not in the room. At the next light, he reaches into the console and takes out a folded printout. It is Lena's leadership review form. The meridian margin is 30% of your bonus, he says. Leadership judgment is another 20. The light turns green. He leaves the paper folded between them as he drives. Lena unfolds the review form at the next red light. Under leadership judgment, Grant has typed, demonstrates technical depth, but resists commercially necessary change, can allow risk sensitivity to undermine team confidence. The rating box is blank. You wrote this before today, she says. It's a working document. The file date is Monday. I prepare for reviews. You prepare leverage. Grant's eyes stay on the road. You call it leverage because you treat every conversation like evidence. You handed it to me in traffic. I'm showing you what's at stake. No, you're showing me what you'll take. A horn sounds behind them. The light has changed. Grant drives through the intersection. Do you want the promotion? Yes. Then act like someone who can make trade-offs. I make trade-offs every day. I don't trade a required post for a better margin and pretend the post never existed. Your job is to help me find a way. My job right now is centerpieces. That answer is beneath you. So is the assignment. The cedar scent becomes cloying. Lena rolls her window down 2 inches. Grant says, you think Rose would have backed you. She read contracts. Rose accepted margins that made this company unsellable. She sold it to you. And now I have to make it sustainable. There it is finally stripped of all the agile language. Grant has real money committed. Meridian is not just a gala to him. It is proof that Harbor Pine can produce premium work without premium labor. If he loses that argument, the purchase looks less disciplined, his projections look less intelligent, and the people who financed him begin asking what else he misunderstood. Lena refolds the review and places it in the cup holder. Keep it, he says. I have a printer. At the office, Grant calls Evan into his glass room and lowers the blinds. The final roster appears in the shared folder 40 minutes later. Lena opens it because the donor gift movement depends on the West Vestibule assignments. Grant has filled every box. Luis Bannerman is listed as dock marshal until 4, freight elevator operator from 4 to 6, and waste corridor captain from 5:30 to 10. Another worker, Simone Price, is assigned as ballroom captain, west exit fire watch, and coat check relief. Evan's name sits in the document history beside the latest revision. Lena walks to his desk. Did you make this? He keeps looking at his monitor. Grant dictated the assignments. Did you tell him Luis is in 3 places between 5:30 and 6? Yes. And? He said transitions overlap in real life. People don't. Evan finally faces her. He said if I couldn't manage 14 people, he'd find someone who could. What did you say? I said I could manage them. Lena waits. I know, he says. No, you know now. You'll know at 5:30 when catering asks where the waste captain is and the elevator is locked out because Luis is in the alley. What would you have said? I already said it. And he put you on centerpieces. That doesn't make the answer wrong. It makes the price visible. Lena looks at him more carefully. His confidence has not disappeared. It has changed shape. He understands Grant's plan and is still choosing to stand inside it because the alternative might cost him the chance he wanted. That's fair, she says. Evan blinks. What is? The price is visible. At 11:57 on Thursday, he submits the roster. Marisol responds at 12:06. Rejected. 6 overlapping assignments. 4 missing relief designations. Resubmit by 3 p.m. Grant takes the blue folder into his office and shuts the door hard enough to rattle the sample votives. At 12:20, Dana Cho from City Crew Staffing arrives without an appointment. She wears a red raincoat and carries the labor order on her tablet. Grant intercepts her near reception. "Dana, perfect timing." "I was nearby." Lena knows Dana lives an hour north and considers anything south of the river an expedition. Dana taps her screen. "Your role descriptions changed after acceptance. We streamlined the plan. You ordered banquet floaters. Now 2 are listed as fire watch and 1 as freight operator. Senior event staff handle varied responsibilities. My people handle the responsibilities I hire them to handle. They'll be standing by exits. Then there's safety posts, not banquet floaters. Different briefing, different rate." Grant's smile turns instructional. "We've given City Crew a lot of business, and we'd like to keep it by sending workers into jobs they agreed to perform." "What's the rate difference?" Dana names it. "For standing near a door? For being prohibited from leaving it?" He glances toward Lena. "Everyone has decided to be literal this week." Dana follows his glance. "Lena is the reason we accepted this job. Her original order made sense. The office goes quiet in little increments. A keyboard stops, the copier finishes, and no one collects the pages." Grant gestures toward his office. "Let's discuss it privately." "Happy to." As they pass Lena's desk, Dana places a small packet of red grease pencils beside her keyboard. "Found these at the art store," she says. "They discontinued your brand." Lena touches the paper wrapping. "You remembered? You complained for 9 minutes. It was a dark day." Dana smiles and follows Grant into his office. The packet rests beside the broken pencil. Ordinary, cheap, bright red. Lena opens one end with her thumbnail but does not remove a new one. Grant approves the corrected City Crew rates and adds 1 fire watch worker. To offset the cost, he cuts the elevator operator after 7 and assigns Luis to cover it along with the waste corridor. Marisol rejects the roster again. At 2:46, Grant walks the revised copy to Lena's desk. What will she accept? What configuration? The original one. I'm not asking for ideology, I'm asking for the minimum. The original was the minimum plus 4 floaters. So remove the floaters. You already did. That still leaves 24. His face shifts as he calculates. Your plan had 28. Yes. You've been saying I cut half the necessary crew. You cut half the total crew. Then you said the rest could cover every role. So 24 is your actual minimum. For venue compliance, it leaves almost no recovery capacity. Why didn't you say that in the meeting? I said you cut 14 names, including every required post on the list. That's not the same thing. No, it was more specific. Grant puts both palms on her desk. Build me a compliant plan at 18. I can't. You mean you won't? I mean the building doesn't get smaller when you lower the number. Marisol has discretion. She exercised it twice. You could speak to her. You told me not to. I am now telling you to. Lena meets his eyes. What do you want me to say? That Harbor Pine has developed an integrated coverage model, and you stand behind it. I don't. You can stand behind the team, not by lying to the venue director. Grant straightens. This is the leadership judgment problem. This is the judgment. He takes the roster. Then stay in your scope tomorrow. At 6, most of the office leaves. Lena remains with 80 donor notebooks spread across the sample table because the manufacturer packed the charcoal bands separately. She slides one around each cover and stacks the finished gifts inside a rolling cage. Evan appears beside the second cage holding the rejected roster. I need help, he says. She keeps working. With what? Luis called. He saw the assignment sheet and says he won't take the elevator unless City Crew adds the operator rate. Dana agrees. She should. Simone says she won't accept responsibility for fire watch while running coat check. She shouldn't. Grant told me to replace them if they refuse. With whom? I don't know. Lena fits another charcoal band around another notebook. Can you rebuild the roster? Evan asks. I already built it. Not 28. Something Grant will approve. You saw me try 18. I'm asking you, not him. For what? He exhales. Quietly fix it. Tell me where to move people. I'll manage the floor. You want my plan without my name. I want tomorrow to work. So do I. Then help me. She closes the cage door. If Grant restores the required labor and puts me back in operational authority, I'll rebuild the sequence tonight. You need the title? I need the authority to stop changes that make the plan impossible. He won't go for that. Then he doesn't want me to fix it. Evan lowers the roster. He'll say you held the event hostage. I'm not holding anything. He has my plan, my warnings, the venue clauses, city cruise rates, and Marisol's rejections. He also has 14 people arriving tomorrow. 15. Luis may not come. 14. Evan looks at the cages. I thought you cared more about the event than about being right. The sentence reaches the old bruise Grant has been pressing all week. Lena locks the cage. Caring more is how they keep asking you to absorb the cost. I'm paying one too. I know. Then why are you so calm? Because I've already been afraid all week. Grant is still in his office. Evan takes the roster to him. Through the glass, Lena watches Evan speak. Grant listens with his arms crossed, then looks toward her. Evan says something else. Grant shakes his head. The office door opens. You want operational authority restored? Grant asks. And the required labor. You can have authority within decor and guest departure. That's what I have now. You can advise Evan on the rest. Advice didn't survive the conference table? I'm offering you a path back onto the floor, with responsibility and no control, with teamwork. No. His face reddens. Then tomorrow's outcome is on you. It's on the approved roster. Go home, Lena. She places the unopened packet of grease pencils in her bag. The broken one stays clipped to her copy of the addendum and transition email. By 1 the next afternoon, Luis is directing Formfold's truck into the service lane. 14 black-clad crew members move through the foundry with radios and rolling racks. From the ballroom, the reduced team looks quick, focused, almost convincing. Lena arranges donor gifts behind the service curtain and watches Grant show Cynthia the room. His suit jacket is off. His sleeves are rolled neatly to the same point on each forearm. At 3:03, Floral arrives early. At 3:07, the production van arrives late. At 3:11, catering turns onto Mercer Street, with hot boxes that cannot wait in the rain. Luis stands in the service lane with Formfold's truck, while his radio crackles from inside the freight elevator. Who has elevator? Evan asks. Luis presses his talk button. Apparently, also me. The floral driver begins unloading into the alley. Production stacks equipment against the service door. Catering stops behind both vehicles, blocking the neighboring tenant's loading bay. Grant comes through the door at a fast walk. Get rentals off the truck. The elevator's full of floral carts, Luis says. Then move the floral carts. The floral team is in the alley. Where's their runner? Evan looks at the roster. The runner was cut. A woman in a gray suit steps around the stalled catering truck, carrying a blue folder and a clipboard. Marisol looks once at the blocked lane, once at the unattended elevator controls, and then at Grant. Show me your crew, she says. Grant looks past Marisol at the trucks. We had an early arrival conflict. You have an uncovered loading dock, an unattended freight elevator, and equipment blocking a fire door. Luis is covering the dock and elevator. Marisol turns to Luis. Where are you assigned right now? Luis holds up the radio. Doc Marshall. Who is operating the elevator? Also me. Who is covering the waste corridor at 5:30? Luis looks at Grant. Apparently my faster, more talented twin. Marisol writes on her clipboard. Grant lowers his voice. We're 20 minutes into load-in. This is a temporary compression. Show me the rest of your crew. They begin at the service lane. Marisol asks each worker for a name and assigned role, then compares the answer with the final roster Grant submitted after her second rejection. Simone Price is unpacking coat check tickets when Marisol finds her. Your listed post is West Exit Fire Watch. Starting at 5, Simone says. And coat check? Starting at 5. Marisol marks the page. Who relieves you at the exit? Mr. Mercer said we'd rotate based on guest need. Grant steps in, which is standard event practice. Not for Fire Watch. They find the ballroom captain in the kitchen corridor checking rental counts. The registration lead is helping production move a lectern. One service floater is upstairs assembling sponsor signs because the backstage runners were cut. By the time they return to the service entrance, catering has parked in the street. Rain beads on the stainless steel hot boxes. A driver from the neighboring tenant stands beside his van, staring at the blockage with exhausted fury. Marisol closes the blue folder. I'm stopping load-in. Grant's expression barely changes. That would be an overreaction. Your crew does not match your approved operating conditions. The crew is in motion. Of course, people aren't standing in their final positions. You don't have enough people for the final positions. We have integrated roles. You have duplicated names. Cynthia comes through the service door carrying her leather portfolio. Why is catering in the street? Grant turns toward her. We're resolving a venue interpretation. Marisol says, this is not an interpretation. Harbor Pines submitted a roster with 6 overlapping assignments after I rejected those same overlaps twice. We corrected the overlaps. You moved the times. You didn't add the people. Grant looks at Lena. His face has the focused stillness he uses before forcing a conversation back under his control. Lena, he says, please explain to Marisol how the roles transition. Lena stands beside the donor gift cage with her binder under one arm. They don't, she says. His eyes sharpen. You built the operating model. I built the 28-person model. You cut 14. Cynthia looks from him to the blocked service lane. 14. We removed excess float capacity, Grant says. You removed every floater, Lena says. You also removed required posts. Then you added one back each time a vendor or the venue refused the reduced plan. Grant turns to Marisol. There has been internal resistance to the streamlined version from the beginning. Marisol's gaze moves to Lena. Did you certify this roster? No. Did you prepare it? No. Grant's voice hardens. You were responsible for the original staffing plan and failed to distinguish your preferred head count from the compliance minimum. Lena sets her binder on top of the cage. She removes the laminated grid first. Grant's red line still crosses 14 names, and her dated note remains in the lower corner. Behind it is the signed venue addendum, with his initials on page 4. Behind that is the transition email listing each cut roll, and the conflict it created. The broken grease pencil clips, all 3 together. She gives them to Marisol. Grant reaches for the pages, but Marisol moves them onto her clipboard. Cynthia steps close enough to read over her shoulder. Marisol checks the grid against the addendum. This has 28. 24 required or operationally fixed, Lena says. 4 recovery floaters. And the submitted crew? 14 at the meeting, 15 after the dock conflict. Cynthia finds Grant's initials. You signed this? I initial hundreds of event documents. Marisol looks up, then employs someone whose job is to tell you which ones matter. I did, Grant says, glancing at Lena. She chose not to solve the revised plan. Lena feels the old instinct rise, the urge to prove that she can absorb one more impossible request, rescue one more person who has made her competence sound like a personality flaw. She keeps both hands on the gift cage. I told you what it required. You told me what you wouldn't do. I wouldn't put one person in 3 places. Cynthia closes her portfolio. Grant, you dismissed her in front of us for warning you about this exact problem. I reassigned floor leadership because we needed commercial judgment. And how much commercial judgment is sitting in the rain? The catering driver looks at the hot boxes. Grant turns to Marisol. If we clear the lane and correct the posts by doors, will you release load-in? When you show me a compliant name roster and the people on it, Doors are in 3 hours. Then use them well. He looks at Lena again. Fix it. Put me back in operational authority. You have it. In writing. Cynthia says, that seems reasonable. Grant ignores her. We don't have time for a title negotiation. This isn't a title. Evan and the vendors need to know I can assign crew, approve the recovery sequence, and refuse another cut. Fine. And approve the required labor. At what cost? City crew's emergency rate if Dana can find people. You already spoke to Dana? Yesterday, in front of you. You know what I mean. I didn't place a hidden hold. I don't know who she has. The answer frightens him more than a secret solution would have. He had expected Lena to keep a rescue plan under her demotion, ready to be taken from her when necessary. Evan steps forward. She's right. We need people, not another roster version. Grant looks at him. You submitted the roster. I submitted what you dictated. You told me you could manage 14. I was wrong. The admission hangs in the service corridor. Grant takes out his phone. Tell me the exact language. Lena dictates while he types. Effective immediately, Lena Ortiz has final operational authority for Meridian load-in, staffing deployment, venue compliance, and service recovery. Labor additions required for venue approval are authorized at emergency rates. Add that no role gets removed or consolidated without written approval from me and Marisol. Grant's thumb stops. You're enjoying this now. I'm making it survive you later. Cynthia looks away, but the corner of her mouth moves. Grant adds the sentence and sends the message to Lena, Evan, Dana, Marisol, and Cynthia. Lena reads it once. Then she takes the unopened packet from her bag and slides out a new red grease pencil. She draws a line beside each vacant post on a clean roster. Evan, clear production equipment from the fire door. Luis keeps the dock until the last scheduled truck clears. He does not touch the elevator. Got it. Catering unloads first. Floral stages under the awning until the hot boxes are inside. Formfold's driver stays in place until we have an elevator operator. Grant says, that extends the truck. Yes. Marty will charge detention. Yes. Grant swallows the rest. Dana answers Lena's call from another job site. She can produce 5 experienced workers within an hour, 3 more by 5, and a 9th at 5:30. The rates include emergency dispatch, changed role premiums, and guaranteed minimums. Book them, Lena says. Grant stands close enough to hear the total. Do it, he says. Marisol allows catering to move inside under Luis's direct control, but keeps the rest of load-in frozen until the first emergency workers arrive. Grant paces between the service door and ballroom, answering questions with shorter and shorter sentences. At 4:20, Dana walks in wearing her red raincoat with 5 crew members behind her. Marisol checks their identification and assignments. Lena places 1 at the elevator, 2 on fixed safety posts, 1 in the waste corridor, and 1 backstage. As the next 3 arrive, the ballroom gets a second captain, coat check gets its second attendant, and donor distribution gets a dedicated person. The 9th worker is delayed on the bridge. Can we open without the last floater? Grant asks. She's not a floater, Lena says. She's West Vestibule gift support. We have 1 gift attendant. We have 2 cages, 400 notebooks, and a route that can't be blocked. Guests can take their own. The second cage is behind the service curtain. Cynthia says, we wait. The final worker arrives at 5:42, rain on her shoulders. Doors open 22 minutes late. Guests enter through the east lobby while Lena runs the radios from the service corridor. The elevator stays staffed. Waste moves on schedule. Speakers reach backstage without crossing through plated salads. At departure, 1 gift attendant works the recessed wall while the other refills from behind the curtain. Coat check keeps both attendants. Simone remains at the west exit and never has to choose which responsibility Grant meant her to abandon. Grant spends the evening beside Cynthia's table, looking useful whenever she glances toward him. After the last guest leaves, Evan finds Lena at the service entrance counting unopened notebook cartons. I'm sorry, he says. For which part? The hostage line. She marks 3 cartons on the return sheet. That was a bad one. I knew it when I said it. You still said it. Yeah. She closes the pencil in her fist, then opens it again. You told him you were wrong in front of everyone. I was. That cost you. He removed me from next month's aviation dinner before dessert. I'm sorry. I'm relieved. He leans against the wall, which is annoying. Marty's driver rolls the last empty rack onto the elevator. Luis presses the call button from the dock, and the operator answers over the radio. Evan watches the doors close. I'll never draw that elevator in the wrong place again. That's growth. Meridian's event review arrives 3 days later. Cynthia's report is 12 pages long. She credits the floor recovery to Lena, Evan, city crew, and foundry operations. The labor overage, truck detention, extended catering call, and delayed opening consume Harbor Pine's entire projected margin. The last page states that Meridian will not renew its preferred events proposal under Grant's pricing authority. Harbor Pine can remain eligible only if future estimates carry separate finance and operations approval. Grant keeps his job. His investors remove event pricing from his sole control and postpone expansion. He moves Evan back to associate producer and offers Lena the operations director title with a reduced bonus target. She reads the offer in the same conference room where he broke her pencil. What would authority mean? She asks, leading the operations team. Can finance override required staffing? We'd collaborate. Can they override it? Grant folds his hands. Every leader has constraints. Lena slides the offer back. Then it's the same job with a title you can blame. His expression carries anger, fatigue, and something close to respect. What do you want? She places a 1-page separation proposal on the table. 6 weeks' pay, payment for unused leave, release from the non-compete, permission to use Harbor Pine events in her portfolio, and neutral employment verification. You'll lose your Meridian bonus, he says. You already spent it. He reads the page twice. The venue records, client review, labor orders, and his authorization email have narrowed the conversation to terms neither of them needs to pretend are generous. He strikes 6 weeks down to 4. Lena returns it to 6 and removes a request for company equipment. He agrees to 5. She signs. For a while, 5 weeks feels much shorter than it looked on paper. Lena wakes before dawn with no event to run and reaches for schedules that belong to someone else. She accepts small operations jobs from 2 caterers. Marisol refers her to a nonprofit luncheon, then a trade association dinner, then a winter gala at the foundry. At that gala, Lena stands in the service lane with 26 names on a laminated grid. The original broken pencil clips Grant's first altered plan inside her binder. She keeps it there because it carries his red line, her dated note, and the exact moment she stopped letting other people turn her caution into shame. The freight elevator opens at 1:30 on schedule. Its operator checks in over the radio. The dock marshal answers from the service lane. 2 separate voices in 2 separate places. Lena takes out a new red grease pencil and draws 1 clean check beside the operator's name.